Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're looking at Polestar. Polestar Q2 sales skyrocket by 80% to 20,200 cars delivered throughout 2024 thus far. The Swedish automaker Polestar announced their delivery results. Starting in Q1, the company delivered 7,200 cars, followed by an approximately 13,000 in Q2. This is an increase of 80% from Q1. The company has delivered thus far over 20,000 vehicles. After introducing new retail models, such as the Polestar 4 in China, and this was done in late 2023. Polestar has seen strong demands in markets such as the US, Sweden, Norway, and Germany, of course. These have been some of Polestar's strongest market thus far in 2024. So they're quite promising. And as you know, Polestar is branching out to 7 new markets next year. The CEO of Polestar, Thomas Ingerleth, has acknowledged the positive reviews of the company's 2 new models as the first initial test drives are underway. Thomas also mentioned the brand's retail model shift and how it's accelerating in Europe after refining their sales management team. The Polestar 3 manufacturing in the Volvo factory in South Carolina is set to be on track to begin after summer's end. Polestar also plans to begin manufacturing of the Polestar 4 in South Korea in late 2025, which they believe will strengthen their global production output and attenuates the arrival of tariffs. As you know, there has been an increase on tariffs, a proposal of 20% tariff in the European region, while in the US, they're looking to increase tariffs by 100%. Now, I think what really needs to happen is that Polestar needs its own factory in the US. But of course, these things are incredibly expensive, really, really expensive. You're looking at 2, 3, 4, 5 billion sometimes to build an EV factory. It's not just building the building, it's actually investing in the factory with equipments, material, interior. It's a lot of work. And then the time it takes to ramp up that factory will also cost the company dearly. But obviously, if Polestar invested in its own factory in the US or in Mexico, this would alleviate a lot of pressure from Volvo. Volvo wouldn't have to manufacture the Polestar 3 anymore. Polestar would be able to do that themselves. The most secure way to do this is to build a factory in the US, but if they can't, then perhaps Mexico is the best solution. The brand has a positive outlook for the remainder of 2024 as sales of their 2 new models continue to roll out, and the same goes for Q2 financial results, with a continued plan to expand to 7 new markets, including France. And I've spoken about this, Polestar intends to go to France for the very first time. They were barred from doing business in France for a number of years because of the court case between Polestar and Citroën, which I believe were completely ridiculous. The Citroën logo does not look like a star. It doesn't. The Polestar logo actually looks like a star. But perhaps Citroën just jealous because they can't build vehicles as nice as Polestar. Now, additionally, the Polestar 3 now comes with a long-range rear-wheel drive option. It's a cheaper option for consumers, for people to be introduced to the company. Starting at 79,890 euros, coming with a range of 650 kilowatts, coming with a range of 650 kilometers. This is WLTP range. The vehicle is already available in Europe, and North America and Australia will be included in late 2024. The new P3 single motor is targeted at a lower price as an entry-level model, offering more potential customers an opportunity to explore the premium Swedish brand. The Polestar 3 single motor will be built in China and the US, and it will feature a 111 kilowatt battery pack that allows the vehicle to charge from 10 to 80% in 30 minutes via DC charging standards. Now, deep down, I believe for Polestar, the brand will do exceptionally well in 2025 and 2026. And onwards, of course. But this year was basically a pause for Polestar. In terms of growth, in terms of numbers, revenue, and in terms of deliveries, the brand had no intentions to grow this year. It was very similar to what's going on with Rivian. They are investing a lot more in cost cutting. Cost cutting takes precedent. It's the most important thing to do right now for brands. Because without cost cutting being involved, these companies can hardly stay in business. And even if they can stay in business, well, for how long will that last? They have to think long term. And the best solution long term is, of course, to optimize, go extremely optimize, similar to Tesla, to make sure that you can build these vehicles for as cheap as possible and to sell these vehicles at a higher premium, which will bring in more value and more profit for the business overall. Additionally, there's also the new 2025 Polestar 2 model, which comes with a new design update and extended range. I didn't really like how this was announced, but I think it's probably just a small design difference. And it really is just a small design difference. One of the most notable thing is now the yellow stripe in the seatbelt, just a single line of yellow stripe in the seatbelt, which is a really nice touch. And always the yellow brake calipers, those are always a special touch. But similar to last year, I think we've all remembered last year when Polestar talked about and introduced the 2024 Polestar 2. It's where they finally added the smart zone. They got rid of the grills and added the smart zone, and some people really miss the grills. The smart zone is similar to what Volvo has been doing for numerous years now. So it was always kind of inevitable that it would eventually happen to the Polestar 2. But regardless, long term or short term, whenever they really, get rid of this vehicle and they really replace this vehicle, I think the next Polestar 2, which should be the Polestar 7, I think that vehicle should look as similar as possible to this vehicle, because this kind of design is very iconic and you can't simply just stop building these vehicles. It is too iconic. I think it needs some improvements. Not to say it's a bad design. It's not a bad design at all. It's a very loved design by the people who buy these vehicles. But I think the company wants to add more style. They want more demand. They want more elegance. They want to offer you a vehicle with more space. So that's ultimately the long-term goal. But for the short-term future, they will continue to update the Polestar 2 little by little. They'll tweak the interior. They'll tweak the exterior. And this is all in an attempt to, of course, offer something new to the market. So speaking of offering something new, yes, there is, featuring small design changes, a new battery pack structure with an increased range, similar to what they did last year. But last year, it was a huge update, and they had an entire presentation almost. Well, it was more like a press release, but the press release was huge. It was really like, okay, this is serious. This is a lot of improvements. There was a huge amount of range and performance included, and of course the smart zone. Now, sales have started in Europe and Canada, and the new P2 will be launched in other markets in late 2024. The new Polestar 2 2025 comes with an option for a new exterior color. The new colors are Storm and Vapor, which replace Magnesium as the standard color. Storm, which is a dark aluminium color, first seen on the Polestar 4, will now replace the Thunder, the Polestar Thunder color. This is what I mean, they're offering a small difference, here and there, and I think it is enough for the company right now, because their main focus is still the Polestar 4 and 3. So you don't want to invest too much into the Polestar 2, while the Polestar 4 and 3, which are the most important model right now, you got to get those right. You don't want to have any recalls, you don't want to have any issues. And I must say, there's been a wave of positive reviews from the reviews so far of the Polestar 3 and 4. Positive reviews across the board. But I must say, no matter how positive your reviews are, it doesn't matter until this man has reviewed your vehicle. So, we have 2 new vehicles which needs to be reviewed by Autofocus, the Marcus Brownlee team, by him himself, and he's a fan of Polestar. He does like Polestar. He likes the Polestar 2. And he made a video of the Polestar 2, some time ago. Here it is. It's like 8 months ago. He made a review of the Polestar 2, and that was overwhelmingly positive, in the most positive way. So the next step is for him to review the Polestar 3 and the Polestar 4. And everyone is kind of scared after he reviewed the Fisker. But I must be honest, Polestar has had a history of making nothing but great vehicles, from the Polestar 1 to the Polestar 2. And with the positivity coming from the Polestar 3 and 4, I don't think it would be negative for MKBHD. I think it will be mostly positive. But there will be a lot of skepticism. There's always going to be a lot of skepticism, because these cars are built in China. That's the first skepticism. These cars are quite different. They're very different from what you would consider an American car. They're very different from Tesla, interior and exterior. So naturally, it's going to be quite interesting. Also, I just hope that Polestar improves on the technology as much as possible, the interface. The computer in the vehicle shouldn't be lagging, although it is very common. I remember when Rivians first came to the market, I think even MKBHB was speaking about this. The Rivian system was lagging a bit, but it's improved massively since then in the last year or two. So this is quite normal for new companies, cars, that the system will be a little bit laggy. It's not like Tesla where they've been building this kind of system for the last 5, 6 years, even longer than that. For Polestar, for Rivian, they still have a lot of learning and improving to do overall. But I was actually watching the reviews from Top Gear of the Polestar 4 and the Polestar 3. And I must say, overall, they are quite positive for the review. They're very positive, well explained, straight to the point, fair amount of criticism, but also fair amount of praises where praises are deserved, which is quite important for Polestar, for its company. Honestly, this year, the next step is to make sure this business is optimized for at least cash flow break even. That is the target for next year. It is all about becoming cash flow break even at least. So I look forward to that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Great news, Polestar is slowly bringing these vehicles to market, which is exciting. Subscribe and I will see you in our next video. Peace.